Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sharmina Nelson, and I serve as the Chief of Staff and Director of Community Engagement at the African American Policy Forum. On behalf of AAPF, I welcome you to the 10th annual Her Dream Deferred Week in honor of Women's History Month and UN's International Decade for People of African Descent. Her Dream Deferred is a week-long series of activities focused on amplifying the voices and narratives of Black women and girls. Over the course of this week, we have held events that have illuminated how well-coordinated acts on our history and basic human rights particularly impact Black women in a multitude of sectors, such as education, entertainment, journalism, and healthcare. We also had the opportunity to hear from our artists in residence and Say Her Name Mothers Network, who emphasized the importance of continuing to advocate against police violence and erasure of our stories. The common theme highlighted throughout these conversations is the vulnerability of Black women, girls, and femmes. Black women are targeted, silenced, and displaced, but yet time and time again, we are the first on the front lines. Our position emphasizes the importance and necessity of tonight's event. And now I am grateful to be in community with you all for our 4th installment of our HDD self-care program, You Carry the Dream, Reclaiming Rest and Resilience. You carry the dream. The words I heard clearly in one of my darkest moments when the thoughts in my head were so loud they were almost deafening. Thoughts of hopelessness and uncertainty as I wrestled with the reality that I'd be journeying the rest of this physical life without my mother here on earth. So many plans of what I would do, what we would do together, who I would become, seemingly gone. But were they? I was still here, still a daughter, my mother's teachings and love embedded within me. The assignment was clear, and you're still here, a daughter, a mother, an auntie, a cousin, a mentor. You not only carry, you are the dream. Simply said, but maybe not so simply done, and that's why we're gathered. Tonight, we will explore the connections between rest and resilience and how understanding these connections can allow us to dream, bring us closer to our dreams, and in turn, honor the dreams of those who came before us. We invite you to join us in our practitioners and panel discussions, guided meditations, breath work, journaling, art, music, and other techniques. I am proud to be joined by 2 amazing co-hosts, Dr. Venus Evans-Winters and Owoye Tempo. Venus is the Black Girls Initiative Research Coordinator here at AAPF and Visiting Professor of Education at The Ohio State University. Venus will lead our conversation sections. Owoye is the Creative Arts Administrator for AAPF, as well as a renowned theater director and producer. She will serve as our MC for the evening. Before we dig in, I want to set the tone and make space for us to receive all that will be shared tonight. So I am honored to invite my dear friend, Imani Samuels, up to lead us in our opening meditation. Imani is a spiritual thought leader, speaker, and advocate for stillness and rest as a means to find peace. Imani is the co-founder of Huru, an organization on a mission to ensure every American has access to rest. Imani is also the creator of the Serenity Act, which challenges employers, government officials, and industry leaders to enact paid mental health leave. Imani is married with 2 young feminists, both who have a great sense of curiosity, purpose, and imagination. Welcome, Imani.
Good evening. It is such a delight to share space with you this evening. I come to you from Washington, D.C., but really on this land that we have been stewards of, that we have received, that our ancestors have cultivated on our behalf. And so I invite you to join me in this moment of meditation. I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze, whatever feels comfortable to you. You may plant your feet in the earth flat. You may rest your hands on your thighs with your palms up. And as you sit comfortably, I invite you to take a breath in and a breath out. And breathe in and out. And breathe in and out. And as you continue to breathe, I just invite you to be attentive to your chest rising and falling and rising and falling. And repeat the following phrases silently. I accept the things that I cannot change. I accept the things that I cannot change. I accept the things that I cannot change. I receive courage to change the things that I can. I receive courage to change the things that I can. I receive courage to change the things that I can. I embrace wisdom to know the difference. I embrace wisdom to know the difference. I embrace wisdom to know the difference. And as you continue breathing in and out, and in and out, I invite you to scan your body and release whatever tensions may be arising. That may be in your chest, it may be in your hands and your thighs, or maybe in your feet. Just release it. And be at ease. And repeat the following phrase silently. I embody ease in this moment. I embody ease in this moment. I embody ease in this moment. Breathe in and out. And in and out. And when you are ready, you may bring your awareness back to the present. Amen and Ashe.
Thank you so much, Imani. I'll just give everybody one more moment to recalibrate and reconnect with this room and with your neighbors before we jump in. Okay. Thank you so much again, Imani, for that very grounding meditation. And good evening, everybody. How are you? It is very good to see you. We're so happy to have you here. As Sharmina mentioned, my name is Avoye Timpo. I'm the Creative Arts Administrator here at the African American Policy Forum. So, over the course of the past couple weeks, we have been having some really wonderful and exciting conversations in preparation for this event. So many of the words and ideas that we're investigating tonight bring up a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of interpretations, and also a lot of illuminations. So the event is subtitled Reclaiming Rest and Resilience. So these conversations have been really interesting as we think about what it means for us to thrive as Black women, as we think about what resilience actually means. We've been having some incredible debates around terms like Black girl magic and about the idea of Black women as superheroes. And we've heard from a lot of young people also who say, I don't want to be resilient anymore. We've talked about how and if the word resilience has shifted and changed. One of our incredible artists in residence, who you'll hear from later, Abby Dobson, offered the perspective that resilience is a part of being human, and that it's a part of an essential and beautiful cycle of renewal. So then we ask ourselves, is resilience mischaracterized? We've also talked about how do we navigate our individual and our collective needs. We've been having some very intense Zoom calls. It's been great. It's been great. So we've all heard the line so many times, I have so much going on, I don't have time to rest. Does that sound familiar to people? Yes. So what do we even mean when we say dreaming or thriving or resting? What's the difference between sleep and rest, and how do we make space for any of these things? So we wanted to make space to wrestle with and ponder these questions and ideas together with each of you. So tonight, we'll get into deep conversations to think and dream about these ideas, these sometimes life-saving ideas. And we are so grateful that you all have carved out a little bit of space in your lives, and we're truly honored to share space with each and every one of you who have joined us in this amazing loft space here in Brooklyn, and also for those of you who are joining us virtually. This is our annual huddle to think and dream and to plan. So tonight, we are going to contemplate rest and dreaming as sites of resistance for Black women. The invitation for us all this evening is to collectively imagine how rest and restoration might serve as protective factors and positive reinforcements in Black women's social, emotional, mental, and physical well-being. We're considering rest as having various components, as outlined by Black woman physician and author Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith. And in ritual form today, we will model what physical rest, mental rest, sensory rest, creative rest, emotional rest, social rest, and spiritual rest entail. We hope we all embrace a dream state that facilitates our collective resilience. This evening, we'll be joined by a brilliant, thoughtful, and visionary group of women. They're going to speak about their work, their perspectives, and the things they wrestle with in their own lives, families, and work. They are the incredible Dr. Shawna Murray Browne, Jasmine Bowie, Anana Harris Parris, and we'll get to spend a little bit more time a little later on with Imani.
AAPF has a really long and beautiful history of incorporating the arts into many facets of the work that we do. So tonight we're also joined by two of our phenomenal artists in residence, Gina Loring and Abby Dobson. Gina Loring, that's right, we can applaud. That's right. So Gina Loring is a graduate of Spelman College and the current poet laureate of the African American Policy Forum. She has served as poet in residence at the UC Berkeley Law School and has performed in over 10 countries through State Department cultural programming. She was featured on Jane Fonda's Fire Drill Fridays, Rosario Dawson's The Assembly, 2 De La Soul albums, not just one, but two seasons of HBO's Def Poetry Jam, and she's been commissioned to write poems for Greenpeace, Mickalene Thomas, and Quincy Jones. Abby Dobson is a sonic conceptual artist. Her music erases musical boundaries. She has performed at venues such as SOBs, the Kennedy Center, Millennium Stage, the Apollo Theater, Blue Note Jazz Club, and The Tonight Show. Fun fact, Abby, in addition to all of those things, received a Juris Doctorate degree from Georgetown University Law School. So we are thrilled to have both of these incredible artists join us here tonight. And as the evening proceeds, we'll take moments to exercise a few self-care techniques, including journaling and breath and conversation. So just so that everybody knows, this space was created to be in conversation with all the things that we talk about with our friends and our families and our communities. This is your space. It's a space to consider, to wrestle with things we're going through, a space to ask questions together, and a space to dream and imagine. And it's a space that's only possible because of the energy and commitment that you have all brought with you for whatever it is that called you here today. We have water and snacks in the corner, so during our interludes, if you want to get up and stretch your legs, feel free. So to begin our conversations, I am thrilled to introduce our amazing colleague and thought partner, Dr. Venus Evans-Winters, who is the Black Girls Initiative's research coordinator at the African American Policy Forum. She is also a visiting professor of education at Ohio State University. Her areas of research are educational policy analysis, Black girls and women's onto-epistemologies, and critical race feminist methodologies. She is the author of Black Feminism and Qualitative Inquiry, a mosaic for writing Our Daughter's Body and Teaching Black Girls. Our Daughter's Body, and another book, which is Teaching Black Girls, Resilience in Urban Schools. She is also the co-author of Introduction to Intersectional Qualitative Research, and she is the co-editor of the books Black Feminism in Education, Black Women Speak Up, Back, and Out, and Celebrating 20 Years of Black Girlhood, the Lauryn Hill Reader. Dr. Evans-Winters is also a clinical psychotherapist in private practice and the founder of Planet Venus Institute. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Venus Evans-Winters.
Thank you, Owoye. Can I take you everywhere with me when I enter a room? I'm excited to be in conversation again, starting off with Dr. Shawna Murray Browne. Shawna is an award-winning community healer, professional speaker, and liberation-focused mind-body medicine practitioner. She is the principal consultant at Kindred Wellness LLC and trained as an integrative psychotherapist. In her hometown of Baltimore City, Shawna is known for holding grassroots healing circles to equip Black families and change makers with the tools to heal themselves. Others know her best for her training intensive decolonizing therapy for Black folk, where she co-creates space for deconstructing and reimagining mental health care as we know it. So Shawna, would you join us? Thank you.
Hey.
Evening.
Yes.
I'm gonna do this, guys. It was very blurry up there.
Do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? We gotta be able to see.
So Shawna, for me, as a Black mother, woman, mental health professional, abolitionist educator, and unapologetic protector of Black girls, I am interested in the long-term consequences of Black women not getting enough sleep and the health benefits of rest and sleep. There is a rest deficit in this country. There is a misunderstanding between sleep and rest in a society of individuals who are chronically tired and burnt out. I'm tired. I skipped the R.
I heard it.
So can you discuss our community's collective yearning for rest and sleep?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So the way that I like to begin when I'm thinking about our collective experience is to remember who we were before enslavement and our relationship with the land. So the way that we were to engage, we didn't need a word for rest because we were living in community and in cadence with the land. But once ripped from our original spaces and places and ways of communing, we were forcibly brought here. And, you know, this is like a Babylon kind of situation. And so there we have to reconcile the reality of our current and present mental health care system in the ways that it looked in historical context, right? And I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the phrase drapetomania or dysphasia athopica. It's okay, I got you. And these were terms created to further dehumanize us in our enslavement, to make it such that, you know, even the concept of us running away to freedom, to rest, was diagnostic. Something like being tired after working day in and day out from sunup to sundown was diagnostic. It was an activity to dehumanize us, and the long-term impact of that, right, is that we've come to have a tough relationship with the notion of rest because all of our concept of self has been tied up in our ability to be able to produce, right? And so now we can see that in modern time, right, we can connect the dots from the historical frame into now, where many of us feel like guilty if we're resting, right? And the negative impact of that has long-standing impacts on our physical health.
So those are some of the roots as it relates to the enslavement period, Jim Crow, sharecropping, right?
Yes.
And also, what about patriarchy and capitalism?
Yeah, so I had the grand opportunity to be able to sit at the feet of ancestors, right, during my dissertation studies. And there were 6 Black women who were from the age of 68 to 80 at the time of interview in the 1970s. And what I was trying to understand was the relationship, right, between their life stories, their understanding of religion, spirituality, and healing, and their notions of how we get here and where we can go. And so when we're thinking about present day, what we learn from them, right, is that while we didn't have a language for rest, when I sat with the histories, when I listened to their stories, rest was not stated explicitly. But what we can find is that when we're talking about patriarchy, when we're talking about our relationship with the systems, that embedded in their stories where they're seeking reprieve from the hardship of navigating, of feeling like, you know, we're not all the way embedded in the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, but still also not fully seen in the women's movement. And so the way that translates now is the same, right? We're still having a difficult time with being able to access this notion of how can we access rest.
That's very good. So I do want to try to define, because as Awoye hinted at, we all don't agree on, you know, what does resilience look like? What does rest look like? So I do want to define it for the purposes of this discussion.
Yeah.
Rest refers to a state of relaxation, recuperation, and rejuvenation, in which the body and mind are given a break from physical or mental exertion. Rest can take various forms, including lying down, sitting quietly, meditating, engaging in leisure activities, or engaging in low-intensity physical activities. Rest allows the body to recover from fatigue, reduce stress, and replenish energy levels, promoting overall well-being and performance. So, Shawna, please explain the relationship between rest and resilience, and based off your research with Black women healers, traditional healers, what do we need to know about resilience and its healing powers, and how we heal ourselves through our own cultural ways of knowing?
Yeah. So I have to be honest, right? At first, when I hear the word resilience, I cringed at first, right? And this is before I had the opportunity to sit at the proverbial feet of these ancestors. Resilience without rest is our colonizers' practice. Rest without resilience is damning the work of our ancestors. So we have to do a both and. We have to come to acknowledge it. One of the stories that comes up for me when I think about this notion from a historical perspective is oftentimes in their oral histories, though they didn't use the word rest, they did talk about the cadence of their life, right? The ability to be able to simply walk slowly through the field, to slowly curate and be in communion with the land and the cultivation of our food, to simply be and wash the body of our children, while also having this ever-present danger on the outside. And so that in particular is super important, because though I do think that our ancestors' dreams have been, and they knew that we had some work to do. They could see the separation between Black folks in the movement. But the truth of the matter is that the ways of our healing ways was the way we communed with the land, right? Our ability to move more slowly, our ability to be in communion with even spirit. The framework that I used in my research is the womanist triad of concern, which specifically says that a womanist is concerned with the human to human, human to spirit, and human to nature relationship. So when we're thinking about our ability to access rest, right, we have to contend with, okay, so perhaps I can access a sense of safety and sisterhood and community, right? Maybe we have a developed trust relationship. All right, cool. But what is the state or the nature of my ability to be able to access my imagination if I'm not in communion with spirit? What is my relationship to my either religious, spiritual, or even we could just say purpose-driven being, ways of being and knowing? And last, with nature. When was the last time we've been outside besides the beach, y'all? With no shoes on, right? And those were the original healing ways of our people, and that is what emerged from the research and listening to these journeys, and I think is a path for our way forward.
So in other words, these conversations that we're having, it's not new to our generation. Our ancestors have been having these conversations.
They've been doing it. But it's our job to take the mantle forward. There were resources that they did not have access to, that they knew due to their resilience that we would now have access to it. So what does it look like for us to commune deeply with both rest and resilience, to honor the works that they've had and then to bring it forward? How can we say that we're seeking change rooted from a liberatory or to be focused on liberation if we can't access our imagination? You can't dream if you're thinking about your to-do list from yesterday, last week, the email that you about to, you know what I'm saying? You have to slow your body down, and they knew that.
Change. Speaking of change, this week AAPF and our State of Black Women campaign, we've been uplifting the current state of Black women in this country. Our executive director, Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, reminds us that it is important to hold systems or policymakers accountable for the various social, economic, and political conditions that influence Black women and girls' overall social opportunities and outcomes. So how do we decolonize our mental health practices so that Black women and girls and the people who we love can thrive and live another day to challenge racist and sexist systems that deplete us?
So we have to remember what it means to decolonize. It is different than social justice, right? Social justice tends to be understood as what it means for us to move, like play Tetris a little bit within the confines of the current system, right? Oh.
Can we tweet that, AAPF team?
So, but when we're doing liberatory work, it means we have to exit. Social justice alone won't get us there. And so to decolonize means we have to remember the original healing ways of our people, right? It is to de-link these Eurocentric ideas. And that means we have to be able to see how whiteness has infiltrated our concept of success, rest, resilience, slowing down, work, relationships, beauty. In order for us to be able to talk about decolonization, we have to first be able to see how colonization has harmed us. That would be the first step. The second, I think, is super important for us to establish a new way of thinking about what community is. You know, so many organizations talk about community without actually having relationship with community, right? You don't know grandma and them down the street, don't know, you know what I'm saying? And so the way that Black women and girls continually heal has often been through our fake me out aunties, that's our kinfolk, right? And so reconnecting and recommuning and valuing those relationships, learning how to connect deeply in that way. And the last thing that I'll say here, unless you want me to say more, is really returning to our bodies, right? Imani did such a beautiful opening. And when I sat at the feet of these ancestors, they talked about the presence of spirit and faith in their bodies. If they couldn't physically rest, they communed in resting space through their spiritual practice, through their faith. How many of us then fell off our faith practice? How many of us have been disconnected because we're zooming? Decolonizing a mental health care also calls on the mental health care practitioners to acknowledge these same ways and to be in communion and in alignment with our original healing ways, recognizing, yes, I have my LCSWC and my PhD and my MSW and all of these things.
Comma.
But those, right, yeah, mm-hmm. But where did I get those degrees? Not sitting at the feet of grandma and them. You know what I'm saying? The education has been indoctrinated and has indoctrinated us. So we have to do that ongoing decolonial work, and we have to reclaim what our grandmas and them told us. We have to be sure that we don't allow ourselves to forget.
So before we transition to our lovely poetess who's here with us sitting right here ready to go, I just want to thank you all again, because Sharmina, Imani, and Dr. Shawna Browne reminded me in this moment that one of my most mindful moments was actually sitting on or at the lap of my grandmother when my head is rested while she braids my hair. So thank you to all the mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers, and aunties, and godmamas, and play mamas. Gina?
Good evening. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me well? Yes, okay. So this poem is called Walking Prayers, Her Dream Deferred Edition. We are walking prayers. Angels leave love letters in our palms. Our hands speak scripture. We are life givers, meant for sacred work. We birth ideas that take flight, become entire solar systems. We are the music that mothers each other, spinning prayers to gold, whether auntie or sister or friend. And if or when we choose to, we build bodies in our bodies. babies born of our daydreams who will one day tell our stories. We tend to them in back seats and bathroom stalls, lullabies and love hymns. We pray over them. May they be safe, may they be strong. May they be safe, may they be strong. This is our song. Our mother, sister, daughter, woman, warrior song. We wear wounded hearts like badges of courage, carrying the weight of the world on each shoulder, collecting lessons and battle scars. We are peace treaties, our hips the framework for families, the foundation where God's magic takes tangible form. Future generations depend on the resilience of our bodies. And what will we tell them? When boys-only treehouses grow up to be boys-only governments, boys. Boys who have forgotten their first home was their mother's womb. Took their first breath in the embrace of her arms. We must remind them, from our breast you were fed. We are shelter, we are vessel, our wombs are holy ground, so violating a woman is a violation against God, a sin against yourself, karmic suicide. We are sacred geometry, divine pyramids and astrology, not to be thrown away like pearls to swine, meant to be honored, not objectified. We were not always swayed by billboards beckoning from boulevard rooftops, Photoshop glam shots, nightclubs and hot spots, skylines laced with man-made messages, morphing our self-images into warped anorexic fantasies. A gender-biased consumer agenda has us grooming for days. Eyebrows threaded, makeup applied, hair done, legs shaved, bikini waxed, push-up bra, high heels intact, and we will never get those hours back. Our reflection is not in red carpet mainstream movie stars. It is in the night sky, the moon's soft mirror glow somewhere just past Mars. Women are the heartbeat of the world. Always been the leaders, the energy anchoring humanity, even shackled in ship underbellies, leading prayer songs, telling truths from somewhere holy, wet nurse to baby after baby after baby, raising the children who will grow up to be our oppressors. We risked death to be literate. Must be some kind of magic in this alphabet you so scared for us to crack the code by clandestine candlelight, cleaning, cooking, running entire households, then farming, cropping, harvesting. We, the agricultural scientists, kitchen chemists, sleep deprived but always get it done before the sun come back up. Talk about multitasking, project management, expansive skill sets, adaptability through maze after maze after maze of unwritten rules, ever moving finish lines, landmines every other mile, but your efforts futile. There is no law or action powerful enough to hold us. We are regal. We are legacy. Mary brought Jesus through. Jochebed brought Moses through. Amina brought Muhammad through. Isis brought Horus through. Harriet Tubman brought hundreds through. We are warriors. Our love is infinite. Our voices are made of light. Our hearts are harbor, our song far and long. We are every continent, every smoke signal and psalm, every prayer, every element, day and night. We are earth, air, water, sunlight. Let us celebrate ourselves. Be our own heroes. Rewrite the fairy tale so Sleeping Beauty wakes her own damn self up, slays the dragon, looks at herself in the mirror and says, "Princess, I found you." Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then. Thank you, Gina. Can we give it up one more time for Gina? Amazing. So many of us have the great honor of getting to hear, I've heard a whole catalog of Gina's incredible poetry, and every time it's just surprising and amazing and inspiring. So thank you. Thank you. So everybody on their tables around the room, we're going to be doing a Q&A later on. So if you have any questions that are coming up over the course of the night, go ahead and jot them down, and we'll come by and collect them at the end and then be able to ask our incredible panelists here tonight. So we're now going to take a moment for our first journaling break. So each of you has, in the black bag that you received when you came in, there's a journal in there. I'll just give you a second to get those out. And if you don't have one, just raise your hand and we'll have one of our team members come through and make sure that everybody's got one. Great. So you'll see in these journals a number of quotes and ideas and prompts. So we're going to first take a look at page 5 in your journal. And we're going to take about 3 or so minutes to contemplate the question there that is, what does resilience mean to you? And again, if you need a pen or a journal or anything, just let us know, and we'll take a few minutes to contemplate, what does resilience mean to you?
Welcome back. I wanted to give a fun fact. Most people don't know this outside of clinical spaces, mental health spaces, but journaling not only taps into your creative sensibilities, but it also connects our minds and bodies which is essential to healing the nervous system. So that's why we try our best to make it as a part of our daily practices. So we are back now with practitioners, Imani Samuels, who led us in that powerful meditation at the top of the program, as well as Jasmine Bowie. Jasmine is a licensed therapist, breathwork facilitator, and wellness consultant with over 10 years of youth development, program design, and mind-body wellness expertise. Her practice is rooted in curating authentic healing spaces for adolescent girls and women to connect more intentionally with themselves and community, release and restore the impact of generational trauma, and support their creation of opportunities for self-expansion and joy. Jasmine is the founder of Zolo Inlu, which is a wellness practice that prioritizes the holistic well-being of Black women, adolescent girls, and gender-expansive people through individualized therapeutic services, healing-centered programming, wellness offerings, and retreats. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you.
And Imani. We're back together again.
Yes, we are.
So Imani, this is actually for you. Imani, Dr. Browne explained that our lack of knowledge or our ability to rest is rooted in historical practices and policies, as well as contemporary forms of oppression, such as exploitive capitalism and gender norms in society. Imani, did our ancestors practice resting? And if so, can you tell us more about the specific ways that our ancestors practiced rest in particular, and how we can connect the dots to our current practices?
Sure. I mean, I think Dr. Shawna talked about it earlier, and I had the pleasure of witnessing her present her dissertation. It was an honor, and it was a way of being. Our ancestors grounded every day, so it wasn't this compartmentalized, I'm gonna go rest for X number of hours, like we might approach a fitness regimen or a meditation regimen. It was, I'm gonna go live life, and I'm gonna live it at the pace that my body tells me to live it, that spirit has called me to live it. So grounding, literally placing your bare feet on the ground, in the grass, in the soil. I studied in Stellenbosch, South Africa, almost 20 years ago, which sounds crazy. But everywhere we went, we walked barefoot. I had never been in that type of environment. We walked barefoot, we walked at a slow pace, miles and miles and miles, and even those who were in hospitality or those who were restaurateurs, they didn't bring us our check. Like, we waited for hours to commune. We were really in that social connectedness. And so being that was a rest practice, being in community, grounding, being barefoot, humming. You talked about being on your grandmother's lap, having a baby listen to your heartbeat. That was a rest practice. Resting your eyes. You might have heard the ancestors or the elders say, I'm resting my eyes. That was a rest practice. The prayers, the moans, the humming of the hymns, that was a rest practice. It was all part of the flow. It was all integrated and part of the flow. So today we see that, we see a little bit of that. We see prayers and meditation connected. We see affirmations and prayers connected. We do have walks. Shawna and I talked about walking. We walk every day. We do take time to ground. And sometimes you have to do it very intentionally. I have rest scheduled in my calendar because otherwise you will prioritize something over it. So there are some modernized ways, but I feel like the ancient ways still serve us. There's no need to abandon what has served us well, and served us in community.
So this is a Sankofa moment. So we've looked back at what the ancestors do. We've connected it today. So this next question is about the future. How can we effectively decondition the minds of the next generation of Black girls to disrupt tropes of both the lazy or strong black woman tropes, and instead intentionally engage our girls and young people in healing practices?
I love that question. And so in all the spaces that I create for young black girls, one of the things that I do is I have no expectations, right? I give them space to simply be. And what that means is they get to fill in the gaps to what that simply be means, to be in their rage, to be in their joy, to be taking up space, to be soft, to feel ease, to be in community, and also giving them permission to change their mind. So the next time you show up, maybe what you want to be today is not what you were in the last session, and that is perfectly fine. And so what I find is they're not often given permission to just show up in the fullness of themselves without conditions. And when you can create a space for them to just be, whatever that means for them, it's kind of sort of like an invitation for them to explore more deeply all the spaces they exist in where they're not granted that space to just be. And so then I like to take it a step further. Like now in this space, you get to just exist in the fullness of who you are. Let's think about the stories, the narratives, the beliefs that we hold. Do they belong to us? Are they somebody else's dream that we carry in? And how do you give yourself permission to release that what doesn't belong to you, things that you may be holding in your body, in your mind, in your belief system, and trusting your own inner voice and inner knowing. And so a lot of that comes through practices that I hold with them, such as breath work, meditation, sound healing. It's heavily rooted in storytelling. I use a lot of narration, so I'm guiding them the entire time because oftentimes these are their first time engaging with practices such as these. So the words that I use, the language that I use to guide them, it's kind of planting seeds in the back of their mind and giving them more things to reflect on. And so I think that's like a really great starting point. It's just like not having any expectations of them. They get to be whoever they want to be in that moment. Recognizing that the world is requiring so much of them, and sometimes it can feel very discongruent to who they feel themselves to be internally.
So interestingly enough, we had an HDD event last night, or a couple of nights ago, where we were with many people who have survived, various levels and different types of trauma. So I do want to uplift this. It's difficult for people who are survivors of trauma to be alone or even to experience deep sleep or what's known as REM sleep. And here's a fact. The U.S. Department of Justice reports that black women are murdered at a rate more than twice as high as white women. The Institute for Women's Policy Research reports that more than 20% of black women are raped during their lifetimes, a higher share than amongst other women. The same survey found that black women also experience significantly higher rates of psychological aggression by an intimate partner. According to a 2019 study, 64% of black women reported experiencing microaggressions at work. And a 2017 study found that nearly 1 in 3 black girls, approximately 29%, reported being sexually harassed at school. That's something to think about, Imani. So what role might rest play in healing from trauma or chronic stress, especially racial trauma or gender-based violence or misogyny in the workplace?
Dr. V, I just want to pause real quick because the way my body is responding to what you just shared, it's heating, it's overheating, my heart is beating really fast. Some of those women might be right next to us. So I just want to pause and hold space for them real quick. I mean, rest plays such an essential role in combating trauma. We've learned from various studies that it takes more than 12 times to neutralize a negative action. So positive actions, we have to overcome that with 12 instances, meaning you have to be on offense for bringing joy into your life, for reclaiming that joy. We are experiencing our own stress, so the daily stress that we navigate, hauling kids to and fro, getting to work, making it on time, delivering and fulfilling on our responsibilities and scope of work, leading communities, being wife, mother, caregiver, and all of those roles. but we've also inherited a lot of chronic exhaustion, a lot of fatigue. And that comes from our ancestors having multiple jobs, tending to the fields, being in the house, nursing our babies, nursing their babies, doing all the things. So we've not only inherited chronic exhaustion and cultivated our own chronic exhaustion, but we're also navigating societal ills, the racism, climate, economic crisis, health pandemic, all those things. So it's kind of this trifecta of massive trauma. We probably need a generation of rest, to be fully honest. Generation of rest, generation of rest, generation of rest. Because to overcome the chronic centuries of exhaustion that we've not only inherited but also cultivated requires deep intentionality. So when we're talking about trauma, I mean, there's so many, Dr. Gail Parker is an example of embracing the body, embracing yoga to be this really beautiful gesture and honoring of getting trauma out of our bodies. What it requires is for us to release it from our bodies. We cannot trap it inside. And so whatever that means to you, it could be journaling. You talked about journaling. That could be voice noting your thoughts on a daily basis. That's what I do. I don't journal. I actually voice note my thoughts. And I actually rarely go back to them. But when I do go back to them, that's sound healing for myself. That's my voice connecting to my heart and overcoming whatever trauma I may have experienced in that day. There's witnessing of the trauma, there's listening of the trauma, and so to get that out of your body, to dance, to move, I mean, that's what our ancestors did. That was rest. Dance was active rest, actually. Get it out of your bodies over and over, and it is a practice. It is a practice of a practice of a practice, not intended necessarily to be mastered, but to be a ritual in your daily regimen. And so when the hard times come, it's much easier to navigate life because you've developed the practice already. It's like a conditioning. You go to training, you work out, you do it every day for however long a day. You gotta rest in the same way. You gotta prioritize your rest in those same ways.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And you hashtag chronic exhaustion. Don't act like y'all didn't hear that. Chronic exhaustion. And also, I think you said just too, release, right? So even when I heard Gina, and I was watching Gina, our poetess over here, artist in residence for AAPF, you weren't just releasing the words, you were moving as you were saying the words. I could see you were trying to contain that energy. So I love that. That's a great example. Now, Jasmine, you work with some of the most vulnerable young people in the state, right, across the country. Now, when faced with challenges about dreaming, right, what are some methods that you believe they could employ to navigate toxic systems or overcome any obstacles?
First thing first, I think, is holding space for the complex trauma that so many of the girls that I have worked with and continue to work with face. Like, I'm still astounded when I sit in one-on-one spaces with girls and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going through this and I'm going through this, and it's just so casual. And so you begin to understand, like, this feels very normalized for you. And so having to, like, make sure they realize it's not normal, and take them through a process where they can begin to, like, release the trauma, as you name, which is why I love breathwork so much, because it creates an opportunity for such a cathartic release in a way that I don't even have the words to necessarily speak to. The next thing is I normalize that, our energetic capacity looks very different every single day, right? And so there's some days you have a whole lot of energy and you're highly motivated and you have the vision and you want to work towards the dream, and there's other days where you can't find it. And just having to normalize, like, that is one of the impacts of trauma, is that sometimes we may want to move forward and do all of the things and create and build, and our body is saying otherwise. So how do you honor yourself? How do you honor your body? How do you honor where you are in your journey and give yourself permission to fully be there? And so a lot of the narrative-based work that I do with them, a lot of the one-on-one work, but also the group spaces and the healing practices creates an opportunity for them to begin to tap into their imagination and to dream again. At some point in time, I try to help make that connection. Like, well, when did you stop dreaming? Like, when did life start to really, really lie for you? And then that childlike imagination was just no longer accessible. And it's wild because they're not even that old. And so you're 15 and you're not dreaming, you know? And so getting them back to a place of being able to create the highest possibilities for themselves, even if they feel like it's not achievable, we're still gonna create it. We're gonna write it down. We're gonna affirm it. And so I think just doing that initial work of helping to like unnormal, I know it's not a word, but like it's not normal, the things that you've experienced to the degree that in which you've experienced them, and then helping them to create a practice for dreaming, again, even if it feels like it's not accessible in this moment, trusting that the clarity and the guidance will find them as they move through their journeys in life.
Amazing, amazing. As Glenda Smiley says all the time, our director of programs, delicious.
I like that. Delicious.
But Jasmine, we look forward to you leading us also into a sample breath work. Okay?
Absolutely, I'm excited to do that.
Okay, so Imani, in the most recent episode of Intersectionality Matters with Kimberly Crenshaw, now available on Apple, SoundCloud, and Spotify, you mentioned that hymns are one form of care that you bring in from your ancestor in moments that require stillness. It made us at AAPF reflect on the healing power of sound, and we are grateful that our songstress, artist in residence, Abby Dobson, has joined us tonight to minister to us. Now, while Abby sings, and as she comes to the stage, I welcome you all to journal and answer the question on page 11. It says, dreaming is a state of consciousness and unconsciousness. What are dreams that you have for yourself, your family, and your community? What dreams do you have for your future, Black people, and society in general?
I am worthy. I am beautiful, one of a kind, a special someone, a treasure to find. I am holy, a gift to this world. I am worthy of all my dreams. The world can test me, my spirit won't die. Tried to hurt me, but still I'll survive. Some tried to break me, but I'm still alive. And I'm worthy of all my dreams. I will fight for what I believe. I am not alone, and you can also count on me. I'm my sister's keeper. I know her pain. Joy and abundance are hers to reclaim. I am worthy. You are worthy. Yes, you are. I am your softness and just breathe. You are worthy of all your dreams. Breathe deeply. You are the dream. Hold your heart. You are the dream. Love yourself fiercely. You are the dream. You are your best thing. You are your dream. You are worthy of all you dream. We are worthy of all we dream. We are beautiful. We are perfect. We are holy. We are the dream. We are the dream. We are the dream. You are worthy of all your dreams.
Wow, Abby. It's hard to transition from that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Wow, 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 wow. Next, coming to the stage, Anana. For this conversation, I am joined by Anana Harris Parris. She is the founder and CEO of Self Care Agency, LLC, as well as the founder of the Sister Care Alliance. Anana has over 10 years of experience in business operations and community affairs and has worked as a fractional COO advisor to more than 30 businesses and law firms. Anana authored the first Self-Care Day proclamation for the city of Atlanta, which was replicated by Charlotte, North Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, and other cities. To further the promotion of self-care as a strategic form of social justice, Ms. Parris authored the book, Self-Care Matters, A Revolutionary's Approach. Welcome, Anana.
Is this thing on?
It's on.
Thank you, everybody.
We are clearly in a movement to decolonize trauma and destigmatize mental health. Despite our contributions to the medical industry, economic structure, and social welfare system, there are still, in the words of Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, intersectional failures. as it relates to Black people's access to quality care in this country. We all know some of these barriers, including lack of access to health insurance, poor quality of care, and systemic racism within the healthcare system, as we heard last night in our Her Dream Deferred programming. Anana, Black women and girls tend to make up these intersectional system failures, which speaks volumes not only to our collective resilience, but also our real need to rest and collectively care for ourselves. We resisted and care for each other out of necessity, but how can we be more strategic? How can we be more strategic during a time where the world is seemingly on fire?
I want to give a shout out to the question writer for the layered questions that matter.
Did you hear that, Sharmina?
Well, let me just say first, that's a lot to unpack. And I think in order for everybody to benefit from it, I'm just going to take it a bite at a time. Is that okay? All right, thank you. When we think about just the power of what just the powerful Kimberly Crenshaw gifted us with this term, intersectionality, the idea of all of us coming together and intersecting and representing multiple roles, responsibilities, but also multiple states of being. And unfortunately, in this society, the compartmentalization of the roles comes with, in and of itself, an aggression, right? So first I must think of myself as this and operate. Then I must detangle from that and think of myself as that. That's work. Are y'all hearing me? It's a lot of work, and it also forces us to believe, right, that we're required to do that work in order to be accepted, in order to be believed, in order to matter. Y'all with me so far? Okay. So with that known, that as we walk into a room, there is an unspoken oppressive requirement to fit in all these roles, we end up succumbing to the weight, not just ancestrally, right? And not just from previous generations, but from our own friends and family in the workplace. We end up succumbing to the weight of the requirement to speak about ourselves in these multiple titles. So far, so good? All right. So the weight of that requirement, spoken or unspoken, puts such a pressure on our organs, right? That as we begin to day in and day out feel the weight of that pressure, we start to wonder, is it even possible to exist without people putting that on me? Is it even possible to make money without having to think about my hair, how I'm speaking, the way I'm dressed, how I'm, right? Is it possible to think, am I gonna be judged because I'm a mom that flew from Atlanta to New York to do this and my son is not with me? Is it possible for me to live my life in a way that I'm not feeling the weight of those intersectional titles? So the answer is yes. Okay, shout out to the answer. There is a way, but because it's all tangled up and complicated, and because it's three-dimensional, it's coming at you from everywhere, the only way for you to have the results you're looking for, the peace you're looking for, I love how Sister Gina said our bodies are peace treaties. Come on, Gina. The only way for us to get to where we want to go in a shorter amount of time with the least amount of bruises is to be strategic. Are y'all with me? You can get to the other end of the football field. You can run straight down that field, right? But how many people are going to try to tackle you, elbow you, trip you, right? But if you have a strategy from getting from one end of the football field to the next, you might make it to the end in your right mind. So I'm not necessarily trying to pitch a campaign for anyone to be strategic. I'm letting you know that you'll have a higher quality of life if you do.
Ashe. Thank you. Thank you also for always reminding us we are a think tank of researchers, right? And people who engage the work. And so thank you, though. These words do matter. And every day we are witnessing firsthand how our struggles were co-opted and our own words were banned, and in some cases used against us or disconnected from their original meanings. Like words like woke, critical race theory, intersectionality, and more recently, say her name. Reflecting on the idea of rest and the concept of resilience, can you share more about how words and ideas can be used to intimidate us?
Well, words are not only used to intimidate us, but they're used to govern public policy. They're used to create laws. I'm not just doing this passion work through my nonprofit. I'm not just the author of a book. I'm also CEO of a law firm, okay? So what I see is the place where the laws, the people, the policy clash, and people wake up, no matter your status, right? They wake up to, oh, wait a minute, this meant me too. This meant my child too. I did not know that driving down the street and XYZ occurring could put me and my child in jail immediately. I did not know that in the workplace, if this is not happening and that's not, right? So what happens is words are impacting your life in such an aggressive way, but the absence of you paying attention to someone else being strategic when using the words, right? When you don't have a strategy, you're in someone else's strategy. You understand? So, I got you. Yeah. That was good. Okay. It's a fact. Okay. It's a fact. When you don't have a strategy, specifically about how you take care of yourself, then you're already inside someone else's strategy. So what ends up happening is words and terminology, when you sit up there and argue about, well, should it be soft life or should we call it rest? Should it be called resilience or should it be, right? I'm not here to poo-poo on anybody's craving to have discourse, to, really feed the need. I went to Howard. HU? Come on. Sorry for the moment. But we have sat up in, okay, I'm going to be 50 this year. I said it. Okay, thank you, I needed that. So we sat up in the dorm room, shout out to Slow Hall, shout out to the Quad, okay? We sat up in the dorm rooms and we pontificated on words. There's an enjoyment in words, are y'all with me? Do not confuse your enjoyment with words with not being a part of a political strategy that's using words to shift your attention, your money, your time, your energy, your faith, right? So, yes, the words rest and resilience, whether you're on social media or you come to an event like this, right? And we're, once again, pontificating and talking, and we're asking you to journal or just kind of engage in a way that you need. Yes, words can be used to manipulate, to contaminate. Words can be used very easily from a propaganda standpoint to get you detached from what you need. Easily. But the way that you recenter it, we'll bring it to a close, the way you center it is you start asking yourself, before you ask someone, well, how do you define dream? How do you define rest? Before you even get into that journey, you first ask yourself, what do I need before I walk into this Her Dream Deferred event? What do I need spiritually, emotionally, economically, artistically, physically, right, and socially? And if you have your menu, before you walk into any event, before you have any conversation, you're not going to be swayed by words that don't have anything to do with your menu of critical needs that you need to strategically address to take care of yourself. So I'm trying to offer more so a strategy, okay, to not feel at the mercy of other people's words. Right? And I don't feel at the mercy of other people's words anymore. I did, but now I feel great. I can say, right? I can say, hey, I need a clap because I need a boost of energy, and dance helps me work out anxieties. It helps me release and allow that which I feel is my calling to come through clearer for you. Whereas if I repressed what I was feeling and I didn't dance my way up here, then I don't know if I would give you the message that I would. So somebody's words could say, okay, quick story. So I did some work doing some trainings in Mississippi with their public defender's office. Yep, shout out to that. I'm just gonna let that marinate. And my first training that I did with the Association of Public Defenders, I did it, and the mix was definitely not the mix that's in this room, right? And the age of some of the attorneys that were in the room definitely predated any type of liberation. Okay, let that sink in. And so I had the experiences where people would challenge me, be disrespectful, unprofessional. Of course, I'm an educational person, so I will educate you through your experience with me, okay? So that was fine. But when they asked me back, they said, oh my God, it was so powerful. The training was right on. You know, lawyers are dealing with trauma every day. Public defenders are dealing every day. They said, we want you to come back. We're going to share with you the feedback. And one person who was also the person that was rude and older and non-Black, okay, who was extremely rude and disrespectful, right? He wrote in the feedback, was way too animated. Well, please don't give me any ammunition because... So when they invited me back, because I am not offended or feeling at arms against his words, I told them, why don't you play me some salsa music for my next entrance? And in a ballroom of training of lawyers, public defenders, organization heads, they turned on that salsa music. You best believe I came from the back of the room. And whatever it is I need, I'm going to do. So that is the power of words. Words can make you vote differently. Words can keep you from moving you closer to what actually helps you fuel your dream. Because you're like, if someone says this word to me, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna feel small. My anxiety, right? So I know this is like a long answer, but I wanna give you all just a good, clear picture that you get to decide. You always get to decide. You're at the mercy of nobody, right? What you gonna do, fight me? That's
fighting words.
What you gonna do, right? So fortify yourself, be strategic about who you're around, and always ask yourself before you go anywhere to guard yourself against these really damaging words that people use. Ask yourself, what do I need before I go in this event?
Thank you. Can I read this? Can I read that last line? Anana was making fun of my questions, and my hints.
Well, first of all, shout out to you. Keep going.
We love your energy. I believe that the energy that you bring in the room says much about your commitment to your self-care and our collective care. Thank you, Oye.
Come on. I'm done.
Thank you.
I'm done. Okay.
Thank you both so much. As we start to wind down this evening, we're going to invite Jasmine back up to lead us in a moment of breath work.
All right. Can y'all hear me okay? Amazing. So before we get into the practice for breath work, I would love to invite us to do a little bit of a test run. Why don't we take a collective deep breath together? Everybody just take a breath. However that, exhale, release. Beautiful. And I want you just to notice when you were taking that deep breath, where did it go? Did you breathe into your belly? Did you do this? Did you breathe into your shoulders? Yeah, that's all right, no judgment. Did you feel any pressure in your chest when you were breathing? No judgment, we're just noticing. And so just like body language can give us a little bit of information about how we're relating to our environment, breath can give us information about how we're relating to ourselves and what's happening around us as well. And so often we think that we are breathing with intention and breathing deeply, but we're doing this all day. And oftentimes what that do is that create another level of anxiety in our body, sending a separate message to our nervous system that we're not safe, that we're not safe and okay in this moment. And so today I'm going to guide you through a really brief practice where we're going to breathe really deeply into our belly, where we can access some of those feel-good hormones, right? Where we can tap into our parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of our nervous system that sends the message to our brain that we are safe, that we are okay, that all is well, that it can turn off our trauma responses, that fight, flight, and freeze response, okay? And so it's gonna be a little bit different than how we normally breathe. We're gonna be breathing in and out of our mouths. And so what I wanna invite you to do, a quick round of practice before we move into the offering, is like purse your lips like you're pulling in water through a straw. And I want you to fill your belly with air. And feel your belly expand on that inhale, nice and wide like a balloon. And we're gonna hold that breath there. And we're gonna take another breath, we're gonna pull it up to our chest. You may feel your shoulders go up as you take that second breath, and you're gonna slowly exhale, release. Beautiful, feeling your body deflate. One more time, into the belly. Beautiful, pulling it up a little bit more into your chest. Exhale, let it all go. Amazing. So that's how we're gonna breathe, all right? So in this moment, I invite you to just get into a comfortable seated position in your chair. Maybe it feels good to plant your feet firmly on the ground. And now I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes if you feel safe enough to do so. If not, you are welcome to lower your gaze, maybe focusing on the tip of your nose. And so we are going to start off by taking a collective deep breath, inhaling in through the nose and out through the mouth. Beautiful, releasing any tension we may be holding. And we're going to invite in the energy of softness, starting at the top of our head. And maybe we can just invite in a little bit of softness, releasing any thoughts, any tension, any action items, any to-dos we may be holding, softening, relaxing your head. Beautiful. And now I invite you to move down your face to your eyebrows, releasing any tension you may be holding in your eyebrows, softening them. Moving down your face, unclenching your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Releasing any tension you may be holding in your jaw, softening. These are all the places and spaces we hold tension in our body. Moving down to your shoulders, arms, fingers. Softening your chest, allowing the energy of softness to completely overtake you. Moving down to your belly, releasing any nerve endings in your belly. Allow that belly to become soft. Don't suck it in. Just be. Moving down your legs, knees, ankles, and feet, fully encapsulated in this energy of softness. And maybe just notice. Notice any sensations that may be happening around you and within you. Maybe it's the sound of my voice, the sound of the camera clicking, just noticing, no judgment, being in this moment. Beautiful. And maybe notice what it feels like to be completely soft, yet still accompanied by a sense of heaviness in your softness. And we're going to carry this energy of softness with us, and we're going to take it to our heart space. And so we're going to do a few rounds of collective breathing together, just like we practice, inhaling in through the mouth, eyes still closed if that feels good, into the belly, into the chest. Exhale, release. Beautiful. Again, into the belly, into the chest. Exhale, release. This time I want to hear you make it audible, into the belly, into the chest. Exhale, release. There we go. I love the sound of you breathing into the belly, into the chest. Exhale, release. One more breath into the belly, pulling it up to your chest and your heart space. Hold that breath there for a moment. Hold. Maybe placing a hand on your heart, feeling your heart beating for a moment. Hold. And when you're ready, the biggest exhale you've given me all night, exhale, release, amazing. And just take a moment to sit in that heart space, but for a moment. This is the place where we carry the dream forward. This is the place where we attune to the desires of our hearts. Just feel your heart beating. And so often we find ourselves carrying someone else's dream. We use their modalities for moving through life, and they don't align with how we want to show up in this life. And in this moment, I just want to give you permission to just check in with your heart space and maybe ask your heart space, what dream am I holding in my heart? What is the highest possible dream I could create for myself? What is waiting to be birthed through me? Even if I don't feel like I have the tools and the resources and the support, what is waiting to grow through me? And take a moment and just feel that in. Because when you attune to the dream that was placed in your heart, you give so much spaciousness for that collective dream to take root and grow. But you gotta show up for your dream in order to do that. Beautiful. And so just take a second and feel in that dream. Maybe feel in what's required of you, releasing any fear or judgment that may be accompanied with it. Beautiful. Beautiful. And now I want to invite you just to go ahead and tuck that dream in your heart space, knowing that you can always come back to it and access it at any moment in time, knowing that clarity and guidance will find you as you make the decision to attune to the dream that you have been uniquely destined to carry. Beautiful. And whenever you are ready, I invite you to slowly make your way back to present moment awareness. Maybe taking one more collective breath just to shake out the energy. In through the nose, out through the mouth, maybe shaking it out. Beautiful, amazing. Thank you, Ashe.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. So, do we have anybody in the room who has joined or attended one of these events in previous years? A couple people, good, good, good. So, you might know that we call this incredible group of women, these panelists, these practitioners, the Dora Milaje of wellness. And you can see why they have earned that amazing, amazing title. So, can we just give it up for Shawna, Imani, Jasmine, and Anana? Also to our amazing artists in residence, Abby Dobson and Gina Loring. And our incredible moderator for this evening, Dr. Venus Evans Winters. So we're going to shapeshift the end of the evening a little bit, and rather than do a Q&A, we really want to make space for those of you who are in the room to be able to commune and connect and ask your questions to each other and be in conversation with one another. So we're going to close out this part of the program and have some space at the end of the night for that. So we really want to thank all these incredible panelists for their brilliant words and all of this gorgeous wisdom. And right now, we would love to invite each of you to calendar your time for rest. So if you turn to page 18 and 19 in your hymnals, there's a space for you to write down when you want to schedule that rest. Or if you want to grab your phones right now and go ahead and put in a moment in your calendars to schedule your time for rest. We want to make sure that there's something practical that everybody can hold on to when they leave this space tonight. So before we leave tonight, Imani's going to lead us in a closing breathing ritual, and that's going to be the end of our live streamed program. And then for those of you in the physical room, our incredible colleague, Yvonne Davenport-Perkins, is going to walk us through some of the materials that are available in the room and uplift our wonderful sponsors. We want to say a very special thank you, and I think we should give it up for the incredible team at AAPF. They have been working tirelessly all week, not only to coordinate this beautiful space, but also this entire week of her Dream Deferred events, both in this room and also online. And I also want to just give a really special shout out to two very special members of our AAPF family. We've got Rhonda Dormis and also Valerie Carey here tonight, who are members of our Say Her Name Mothers and Family Network. So they had an event earlier this week on Tuesday where we got to celebrate both them and their loved ones who we've lost. And we're just always very happy to see them and Carson in the room hanging out. So nice to have you guys all here. And lastly, a very special thank you to the leadership and guidance of our very tireless Executive Director, Kimberly Crenshaw. So we're going to close out this week of her Dream Deferred events for 2024 tomorrow, thinking about the future, our youth. And that event is called Youth Leadership Summit, Girls and Women Reading and Leading Through Resistance. And that's a summit that's going to kick off tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And additionally, we'll be dropping information about how you can get involved in our May 3rd Freedom to Learn Day of Action for those who are also watching on the live stream. And for those of you in the room, feel free to talk to us after if you want more information about how to get involved in that event. And very, very lastly, we want to thank you all who have joined us here, who have joined us online. We're so grateful to spend the time with you, daring to dream in all of the face that says that we cannot. And please join me in welcoming Imani for our closing ritual.
Oh my goodness, I am full. This is a beautiful evening. I just want to say two things, if I'm allowed, that align with your scheduled rest. One is that the Surgeon General just came out with a report, the Loneliness and Social Connectedness Report. Have y'all read that? I mean, my goodness. For the folks who haven't read it, there's one insight that says a lack of social connectedness is just as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes a day. And I'm sharing that because as you schedule your rest, we are not designed to do life alone. Please share it with your sister, friend, neighbor, mother, daughter, so that they can hold you accountable to that rest. Make sure it's daily. The second thing I want to say is it shouldn't come after you've done the work. So my birth faith is Christian, and there's in many religions and ideologies, there's this reverence of the Sabbath. For the Sabbath, man was created the day before. They hadn't done anything. And God said, come rest with me. Let me show you how to rest in anticipation for your dreams. So schedule your rest before you do the work, before the sun comes up, in the middle of the day, not after. Like, I'm just inviting you to do that. Be really aware, conscious, and intentional about that, because that then strengthens our collective consciousness, as Jazz and I talk about. All right, are we ready for one final extended breath? Yes. Collective breath. Please hold your hands over your heart as we honor the human to nature connection. We thank you for this land. We thank you for this time and this spaciousness. And we will breathe in and out. And all the people said amen. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.